Good deal. Okay, so I think we're good. I'll just double check that everything is working okay. Sometimes there's like a couple second lag. Oh, there we are. Okay, we're in the group. Good deal. Okay. Happy Friday, everyone. You're in the group. Thank you so much for being here, whether you are coming in and watching live or you are watching on the replay. This is our third, I want to say like third celebrity interview with different people in the field of kind of entrepreneurship and business. This group mainly focuses on different therapy practices and healthcare practices, of course, but there are a lot of things that bleed over in between like different types of industries when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so today, I suppose like really quick before we get started and introduce our special guest, while we're recording this live today on June 24th, 2022, today Roe v. Wade was just overturned, and it's been like a lot of emotions for a lot of people and a lot of things to process today. So I did just want to address it. And I am not sure exactly if I have like a cohesive statement to say about it yet, but it's been a really kind of like sad and mad day. And what I am planning to do probably over the weekend and the next week or so is learn a lot more about it, figure out what resources are out there, and hopefully like provide to you here in this group. If you need somebody to talk to, let me know, and I'll try to send out some information on different things that we can do. I don't really like talk about my political views or honestly anything other than cash practice healthcare businesses in this group. I don't want to see like any, comments about anything other than the specific topic of this group in here. Please feel free to message me privately. And again, like I said, if you need somebody to talk to, need anything, please feel free to reach out, and I'll get back to you with different resources. So anyways, big deep breath for everybody. And let's get into our interview for today with the fabulous Spency. Spencer is coming to us from New York City, and I'm really excited to have him here. Thanks so much for being here, Spencer.
Thanks for having me, Morgan. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of like a little bit all over the place with what's going on today, but
definitely been a lot. I'm here in New York, so I'm sort of privileged in being in a blue state. So I feel for all the people out there might not be in that position. Yeah. Dark day in US history.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was just going to say, like, I guess for those of you who don't know Spencer, he's kind of been a behind the scenes guy in our working relationship. But some of you do know that my sister, Katie, used to work with me in my business as a virtual assistant. And this is actually her partner / boyfriend, Spencer, who runs his own business with regard to all things websites. Mm-hmm. He'll get into it. Spencer can tell you more about him than I can. But right off from the top, like if you're looking for somebody to help you with your website, SEO stuff, anything like that, Spencer's been great. We've been working together for like a year.
Been about a year, I think. Yeah, about a year.
Yeah, and it has flown by.
Yeah.
And Spencer now helps me with clients in the coaching program in T2 CEO. And if that is a program that you have been looking at and you think it might be helpful, Spencer actually builds the websites for all new clients in that program. That's included in the whole program. So anyways, just putting that out there. Yeah. And, like I said, not good with words right now. So we'll see how this goes. But Spencer, if you would do us the honor of sharing more about you, your story, and what you're doing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So my name is Spencer. I'm from New York, and my full-time gig right now is I develop websites. I started a company called Slope Tech NYC. A little bit about my background. I studied computer science in college, and when I was in college, I messed around on a lot of different projects. Worked for a couple of startups. Out of college, I got a job at a growing startup that then, when the pandemic began, sort of imploded, and they laid everybody off. And I was kind of at a crossroads where trying to decide what to do next. And I decided to kind of branch out into my own thing, developing websites. I got my start developing websites actually also at the beginning of the pandemic with a local nonprofit in my neighborhood started a food pantry. So to get the word out about that, I helped them set up their website initially and get their like Facebook presence going. And then I figured, why don't I just kind of expand this and do it full time? Because really the only thing standing between an organization or an individual and an audience is a lot of times just a website and someone who's knowledgeable about those things to just to get it going. And I've been doing it for about a year now, about a year. You were one of my first clients, and it's been great ever since. So I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about websites and all that.
Cool, awesome, and thanks for sharing your story, Spencer. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to bring Spencer onto the show because I work with a lot of people where like you're really good at what you do as a therapist, and building a website is a whole other type of skill, right? Mm-hmm. And like totally different thing. And some of us are kind of scrappy and we can throw things together, and for other people like here in the group, trying to build a website is something that is really it's scary, it's intimidating, it's overwhelming, and it also, unfortunately, as much as I love building websites, I've been doing it since I was in 3rd grade. I think I told you that, Spencer. Mm-hmm. Built a website with HTML manually. Nice. So that's good stuff. Mm-hmm. But even though I love it, I also have seen, both in myself and other business owners, the website being a thing that holds you back. You might feel like your website is not good enough, or you can't really start your business until you have a website or until the website is good enough. And it's easy to let ourselves get kind of bogged down in that. And it ends up really prolonging and putting off all the other things that we need to do in order to feel successful. So I wanted to bring Spencer in to share with us his tips, tricks, wisdom, suggestions, advice. Mm-hmm. And of course, you guys who are listening or watching, if you have any questions, Spencer's information, I believe, will be in the description of this video or the podcast if you're listening there. And if you want to reach out to him, we'll talk more about this at the end. But really quick, Spencer, what is the easiest way for somebody to get in contact with you?
Easiest way to get in contact with me would be email. It's just spencer@slopetechnyc.com. But you can also go to my website, slopetechnyc.com. You can even set up a meeting with me, but my email is also there. Cool. So feel free to reach out. So I'd like to build on the point that you just talked about, how people are kind of hesitate or feel a little bit like a block when it comes to building their website for the first time. And I think that has a lot to do with the way people's mindsets around website. It feels like a big project and it feels like a big step because, all of a sudden you have something online that people can see, it's public. And that can be kind of intimidating. But what I like to say is that really you want to start as small as possible because once it's out there, you can always continue to improve it. That's the great thing about websites is that they're almost infinitely changeable. The first the first iteration of the website you put out there is not what it's going to look like a year from now. You can attest to that, I'm sure, because yes. a year ago we basically took your website and put it through the ringer, changing it and reformatting it and all that stuff. So that's the main thing. I think one of my first big tips for people when starting out their website is to sort of shift their mindset from thinking it's like a big one-time investment project thing to keep it simple and then build from there. And I think that helps people get over that initial block when it comes to that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything is mindset, right? Mm-hmm. We've heard that so many times, but like it is true. Mm-hmm. And like I think that's a really good way to look at it, where like you really just need something up. And like what I always talk about, like harping on, is if somebody cannot find anything about you and your business online, then like where does that leave you? Like mm-hmm. you have to have like other ways of generating leads or customers, whatever. And if you don't have a website or anything online, then all that means is that you have to do that much more work in person and locally in order to be successful with your business. Mm-hmm. And so from my point of view, and everybody has different opinions, that's totally fine, but like you need a website, you need something, mm-hmm. even if it is just your picture and your name and contact information. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Yeah. Like get that up there. And then like Spencer was saying, you can continue to revise it. Just like everything, like it's never going to be perfect on the first try. And the more pressure that we try to put into something and saying like, I only have this one shot, especially with a website, mm-hmm. that's not the reality. And it provides a lot more stress, I think, than is really needed.
For sure. That little like publish button, when you're building your site, it doesn't go away after you click it. Mm-hmm. You can publish it and then 5 minutes later change everything and publish it again. That's the beauty of it. It's not a static thing where you only have one shot. It's mm-hmm. it's a living system that is constantly changing, just like a person is.
Exactly. I like that analogy, as we're all here for growth and everything.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I just want to put out there too is that sort of, I guess, like on the other hand, just because you publish your website, like it's not gonna, when you click that button, it's not going to like automatically notify everybody that and then like mm-hmm. everyone's going to judge you. Publish it. So if people look for you, they'll be able to find it, but nobody's going to know about it until much later on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, until you start sharing it around, and that sort of thing. That kind of brings me to one of my next points, though, which is that once you built the website or published it, mm-hmm. something that's really important to do, because remember, it's not a static document that now just lives, mm-hmm. online. One thing that you should do is put yourself in the shoes of the people that you expect to be viewing your site, and go through the motions, right? If you have your contact info on your site somewhere, because most likely you have a website, so people will find you and contact you. You have that there. Pretend you're a person who is looking for whatever you provide, and go to your website and figure out how easy is it for these people to actually contact me once they're there. And if it's not that easy, that's where you start making those improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it might sound simple. Mm-hmm. It might sound silly to say, like, make sure your contact information is on your website, but, like, I'm sure Spencer has seen this more than I have, but I've even seen, like, a few practice websites that don't have any contact information on it, or any, like, contact form, and so mm-hmm. it ends up looking more like a brochure.
Right.
Even with, like, even brochures should have contact information on them, but it ends up looking a lot more like that, which is like not necessarily like anything wrong with it, but it's not a tool for your business. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, like you have to think that the website you're putting up, it is a marketing tool, and if it is not like producing the results that you want from it, then like mm-hmm. what's the point, And mm-hmm. you can invest many thousands of dollars into a website, and if you don't know like these kind of like few key things that Spencer is sharing with you, then you might end up with like a tool that doesn't like do anything in the mm-hmm. end. And more specifically, like with the contact information, like that is one major point, but having some kind of contact form is also really important, I believe, you know, and
Yeah,
Spencer,
for sure.
you can tell me. I would say like one, because not many people like to call places. It's a lot easier to just fill out a form or email. But your website needs a way of showing you quantitatively if it is working, and how, like how many leads you're generating and how many turn into patients or clients. So a couple of things there.
Yeah, I think it really all goes back to when you first set out to build your website. It's really important to define just like the why. Why are you building a website in the first place? If you narrow that down, then you know you can build from there. Most of the time, yeah. If your why is I want people to contact me about my business, you need to make that easy for them, right? You need to actually have contact information, the bare minimum, or a contact form to make it easier for people to actually contact you or to actually connect with you.
Yeah.
If your why is to sell products, you need to make it as easy as possible to buy products on your website and make it obvious that that's the point. But yeah, it really goes back to when you first set out, drilling down into the why are you doing this? Why are you building a website?
Yeah, absolutely. And one kind of, I guess, like maybe pro tip that we can talk about is things above the fold. While we're on the topic of making it obvious what's supposed to happen, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
The concept of above the fold, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, really, it comes down to how psychology and how do people interact with the internet and with websites. If I'm looking for information on a topic, and I, like most people do, I type it into Google and I click on the first link, and that first link doesn't have the information right in front of me as I click on it, I'm going to go back and click the second. So you need to make sure that people know exactly what they're looking at, or exactly what you want them to do on their first glance. And above the fold just means that, you know, when you go to a website, there's the scroll bar on the side. You want the most important info or the tagline, the thing that's going to draw them in or just tell them more about what's going on this page to be right there in front of them. Otherwise, chances are they'll go somewhere else for the info.
Sure. Yeah. Like they'll click away. And I know, like, I've seen websites like that, you know, which is a good reason why you can always go back and edit it, you know, or like good that that's a feature, I suppose, of building a website, where like I'll click, go to the home screen on the website, and I can see, you know, what might it be? Maybe like a new, I just bought a new bag for CrossFit. So like if I were to go to the company's website and it said like buy your backpack here, but there were no buttons like for me to buy something, that also is really ineffective. Like the call to action being above the fold will really help you in, you know, being able to see if your website is working the way that you are wanting it to. And I know, Spencer, like one thing that you wanted to talk about today as well, that might be part of your 5 tips, is why SEO and user experience go hand in hand. And since we're kind of talking about the user experience already, and a major question lots of new business owners with websites have to ask is, what is SEO? Does it matter?
Does it
matter? You can tell us about that.
Does it matter? Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit. So first off, what is SEO? It stands for search engine optimization, and it's sort of a broad category. It basically means anything you do to your website to make it interact better with search engines, mainly Google. Google is the biggest search engine. They have 90% of the searches that happen online happen through. So SEO, search engine optimization, just refers to anything you do to make your website show up a little bit higher, or interact better with Google. The question of does it matter? Really, it sort of depends. It really goes back to putting yourself in the shoes of your user and understanding their experience. Like I said before, if you're looking for information online, chances are you're going to type into Google what you're looking for. And if you think that your potential website visitors are going to be doing the same, then yes, SEO obviously matters, because that's how they're going to find anything online. It really only wouldn't matter if you rely mostly on social media, or maybe some other form of traffic to send people to your website. But if you want people to be finding your site on Google or other search engines, of course, yeah, SEO totally matters.
Yeah.
And the reason that I say that it goes hand in hand with user experience is, one, because the experience of Googling something and then finding the information is, a universal experience that we all have. So just that user experience is important, but also, and this is getting into the more sort of technical side of things, but Google has been constantly improving their search algorithm to provide you users with better search results. And it used to be they were just looking at kind of the text on the page and seeing if the text related to your search. But now they're starting to use more advanced artificial intelligence and probability and statistic, a bunch of very technical things to figure out which websites provide the best user experience. When someone searches for something, they want to send that person to a website where they'll stick around for a while and actually engage with the site, maybe click around, find answers to questions that they didn't even know they had. So that's why SEO and user experience go hand in hand, because as these search algorithms and these search engines continue to improve, that's just going to continue to be weighted super heavily in regards to where you rank in those searches. Like we were saying before about having information above the fold, right? If people come to your site and leave immediately because they can't find what they're looking for, Google is keeping track of that, and they're not going to send people to your site if people keep leaving quick, or your site doesn't load quickly, or any other thing. Google and other search engines are increasingly looking for sites that provide a good user experience. Because at the end of the day, they want people to stay on the internet for as long as possible. So they want people to go to a website that'll continue their journey.
Yeah, for sure. And like that is a lot of stuff that I feel like I didn't really know too much about until maybe like end of year 1, beginning of year 2, being in business. Like, I said, and even as somebody with like extensive experience with like graphic design and websites and everything, I had always like heard of SEO but didn't really like understand what it was. And one thing that's really cool, if like you are looking for a website builder, Spencer and I are both big fans of Wix. Wix is pretty easy to use. It's a lot, like there are a lot of things that you can do with it, but it allows for, I think, like a good balance of some templatey stuff, but also like a lot of customization at the same time. So for somebody who is newer to building a website, and you're not afraid of like learning what you're doing, I guess, it is really good. But the cool thing that they have is an SEO wizard. So if you're totally new to this, that's something that you can find. I'm not sure if Squarespace has the same kind of function.
Squarespace, they have, it's not the same sort of wizard thing, but they have the ability to add like your SEO titles and meta descriptions and stuff. But Wix is kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to kind of guiding you through that initial SEO setup.
Yeah, and it makes it really easy. So like it's one part of like your dashboard on Wix. You can go to SEO Wizard, and Wix will pull up for you all of the like pages on your website that need certain things, whether it's in the title of the page or the headings or the text on the page, like Spencer mentioned. And it will offer you suggestions on things that you can add in based on what the like overall context of your website is supposed to be. And I even learned like a lot from that on different things that like I should include in the pages. And truthfully, here's like the thing that I feel like most people are wondering about, does SEO matter? Should I have a website? What should be on my website? And that kind of a thing. I have seen so much come from something that is like so little. I think that's one thing that I never really have talked about too much before in this group, is if you actually put effort into your website and regularly updating it, whether it's updating the SEO or adding blog posts and like updating your pages to better reflect the context of your business. I mean, like in the span of like the lifetime of a business, I would say between my website and one of my clients that I manage the website for, it's taken about like 5 or 6 months ish to start seeing like the results of what you did at the beginning, you know, and over the span of like years. 6 months is not that long. And what's really cool about it too is that like you do it and then it just keeps building on itself. And you know, like ultimately, I think a lot of us here too, like we're service-based businesses, don't have a lot of extra time. And so while I suppose like the front end of building a site and updating everything so that it's, you know, good to go and hopefully produces results, while that can be time intensive, the rest of the time, your website can do a lot of work for you. So anyway, like long story short, putting a good website together that has the appropriate context and contact points, I suppose, plus regular updates, it can end up being one of your very best digital mark tools. What do you think, Spence?
I agree with that. That's also something that's one of the harder things to get new business owners to understand, is that like you probably won't see the big payoff for 6 months to a year down the road. If you're building your site now or doing SEO work now, it's not going to be an overnight jump in your traffic numbers. It is about building up that content over time, or just building up traffic over time. Once you do start seeing those results, it's super rewarding. I mean, we were just looking at your website analytics like 2 weeks ago. Like we said before, I've been working with you for a year, and it took about 6 months until we even started seeing much organic search traffic. And now, a year out, we're now at a point where every day people are finding your website via Google. Like literally, this month there was not a day where there was zero organic search. Zero people found you on Google. There's no day where every day someone found you on Google. Is what I'm saying. But that was unthinkable a year ago, or even 6 months ago. But because you put in the work, then you're starting to see those.
Yeah, absolutely. And like that reminds me, like I was just looking at some numbers for my other client, and it's like important to think about where you started with your website too, and not lose sight of that, because the results can take a long period of time to get, like Spencer was saying. Don't lose sight of, starting with nothing and then having these results later on, because like this other person that I redid their website because it wasn't working. It wasn't doing anything for them before. And it even had some incorrect contact information on it for a totally different practice. Not great. No. But anyways, like it was a website, it was a brochure website essentially. And there's nothing that really stood out about it. It was a tool that was not working. And so I rebuilt it. And now what's really cool about it is that like all of their traffic has like at least tripled on a monthly basis. And, like Spencer's kind of saying like, that's like, kind of like the first point, like getting traffic to a website, and then getting engagement, and then getting opt-ins, and then getting customers. So like as you're traveling down that path, you'll kind of see it like one thing at a time, rather than like getting a customer tomorrow. But anyway, what I told my client was Wix now also tracks click to contact. So I assume that means like it'll register the phone number or email address that's on there. But my client had 3 phone calls from his website last week, whereas like a year ago, nothing, zero. Yeah, completely nothing. And that was really cool. And they had almost 400 unique users in the last 3 months, which I believe like in October of last year, they had maybe like 28 users or 20, I think it was even like 28 views of the website. Oh, wow. And at least half of them were me. So there's that. And 22% of those 400 users found the website through Google. which is like from nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess like one of the main points of this show today is if you want to pursue a website as a marketing tool, it will take patience, but like Spencer said, it's very rewarding because it will work. And I guess like I would even like say you can almost guarantee some kind of results compared to other marketing tools.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it is that you have all of the control over how well it does, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like virtually whatever.
Yeah,
What do you think, Spence?
it might not be immediate control, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't control how many visitors I'll have tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I can control the trajectory of my, you know, user count.
Yeah.
You know, if I go and spend an hour kind of optimizing my content, or I do like a speed test of my site and I say, oh, it's kind of slow. What can I do to increase that?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see results from that down the road. Even if you don't see them right away. What else did you mention in that spiel before?
Great question. I completely forgot everything I said.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, main point is just that doing that, putting in the work now, you will see the results later. And that's actually another tip that I have here is to check your performance, your website's performance regularly, whether that's every month or every other month. I wouldn't say do it weekly because, again, like you might not see big changes day to day or week to week, but month to month you might start to see change. Definitely every 2 months you'll see change. I mean, when I say check your performance, there's a lot of different tools you can use. The most common one is Google Analytics. A lot of people have heard about Google Analytics. You might already be using it. So yeah, even if you don't really understand like some of the more technical aspects of Google Analytics, just looking at your users' numbers, like how many people visited my site in the past 30 days. If you're comfortable with that number, that's great. But if you're not, start to brainstorm ways that you can maybe improve your site or add some more content, or tweak the design, put more stuff above the fold for people to see. Whatever it is, to make a better user experience, and then you'll see those results a few months.
And here's a question, I guess, like going off of that I can picture some people in the audience asking is, how do I know when I have enough traffic?
How do you know when you have enough traffic?
What should I be looking for?
It really depends on your goals. If you're getting, like, let's think of a theoretical PT who has a website, right? If you are getting, I don't know, 3 clients a month from your website, like that's like something that you can definitely, if you're comfortable with that number of clients every month, then that you have enough traffic, it's doing well, right? But if you want more, so maybe you had 100 people visit your site, you got 3 clients. If you want more traffic, or if you want more clients, increase the number of people visiting your site. So that it's not enough in that case. So it's really about what your goals are, and if the current amount of traffic is helping you achieve those goals, or if they're falling short.
I think like just to like put it simply too, like another question is probably like, well, how do I know if those clients came through my website? You ask them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah,
and that's like a really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, yeah. If you're meeting for a client for the first time, to say, "How do you hear about me?" I just a few months ago. Listen, I've been doing this for a year. Most of my clients came from word of mouth, but just 3 months ago, I had my first person find me on Google, and the only reason I found that out was because when I was meeting with the client for the first time, I said, "How did you actually find me?" He said, "Oh, I just Googled web developer near me and you popped up." I was like, "Oh, that's great. I guess that to keep the SEO work I did 6 months ago, where I was trying to people who I was looking to put myself in front of people who were searching for web developers, that paid off 6 months down the line." So yeah, asking people that's key.
Yeah, and it's something that one thing that can be helpful that I share with people here is if you're having like some kind of a phone call, video call with a potential client, you can actually like make yourself a list of questions that you want to ask them before the call. And that can be really helpful to make sure that you are hitting on all the points that you need to determine if they might be a good client for you. And that can just be one of them. That's on my script, is just like, where did they find me? And even better yet, if you use a calendar like to schedule, like Calendly or Acuity, you can put that as a like booking question before they book a call with you is, where'd you find me? So then you don't even have to ask. Or you can always ask for more information. But definitely like tracking that kind of a thing to see if it's matching up with your goals, like Spencer said, is huge, because you want to have some kind of idea, I think, quantitatively and objectively, as to what marketing tools are working best for you.
For sure. And some, depending on like what, like obviously you provide services, but if you're selling things on your website, like actual products that you ship out, you'll know kind of how it's performing just based on how many orders are coming in. And there are tools you can use, the more technical side of Google Analytics, where you can set up, conversion tracking, where if you have a specific button on your website that you want people to be clicking, you can set up Google Analytics to track how many people click that button, for example, or submit that contact form, or whatever your goal might be, whatever your why is. You can set the tools to track.
Yeah, absolutely, which is cool, because like, again, it's kind of like, so like, we have no time, right? Like, as people who run businesses, there's not a lot of extra free time. And so like, when you're first getting started with this stuff, if you are able to set things up in a way that you put in all of the work once, and then it just like does its thing later on, that is going to serve you really, really well. Instead of tools that are potentially more time intensive, which again, like, nothing wrong with either option, but it is definitely something to consider, especially if you are single person business. So did we get to all of your 5 tips, Ben?
Yeah, pretty much. Just to reiterate the points that I didn't really define them as points, but mainly define your why, right? Why are you building the website? Shifting your mindset from, this is like a big thing that's going to be static, that I have to get done now, to, this is a thing that will change over time, and I just need to get the minimum out right now, and then build from there. So shifting your mindset in that way. Checking your performance regularly, whether that means Google Analytics or asking your client, how'd you find me? The one was the user experience and its relationship to SEO, and getting clients from that. And then the last point actually kind of ties into what you were just talking about in terms of having no time. I mean, my whole business is building websites, and I have trouble finding time to work on my own, So when it comes to that, like, there's no point in throwing yourself at a problem for hours and hours, a website issue, that when you could be spending your time doing something else. Like, you're a physical therapist, you should be out there helping people who need your services. You shouldn't be troubleshooting your website for hours. So my last point is that there's no shame in hiring someone to work on your site, or, hey, can you check this? Or even just asking them questions. One of the a lot of my clients, one of the most valuable things for them is just when we have our sessions every month. It's just getting ideas, like, oh, I never thought about my website in that way, or, oh, now I have ideas for new pages or new blog posts to make, or whatever. So talking to someone who has that more specialized perspective on the website is always a plus. But so also sort of related to that is, there are a lot of people out there who will sell you a website for loads of money, and then kind of leave you high and dry without you knowing how to take care of it. Like you mentioned, your client who had a website that was doing nothing. It was basically a cookie cutter website that some agency sold them and then left them with. So when it comes to hiring someone, communication is key, right? And making sure that your expectations are on the same page, but also trust. Like, you should trust that they're not selling you something that you're going to be left with that's not actually going to do what you do.
Right. And I think that's actually like a really good point to bring up, Spencer. Like, that was going to be something that I wanted to ask you, and of course, like, going into like this conversation, both Spencer and I build websites for money. We both sell the stuff. So like, there is that bias, but I think maybe discussing like, should somebody hire like a website developer, website agency, whatever we want to call it, should you hire somebody to make and maintain your website, I think talking about like different maybe like criteria where it would be appropriate maybe could be helpful for people listening. Sure. You know, and like, yeah, just kind of like going off of that, because it really is like, it just, it grinds my gears when I see like, just, it seems like people are being taken advantage of, you know, whether like hopefully not, but like on purpose by the agency. I hope most of the time it's kind of by accident, but like, okay, so should a business owner hire a website guy or woman?
Yeah, or a website person.
A website person. Yeah, what are your answers?
I think the answer to that kind of ties into an answer I gave for another question, which is it depends on your goals, and it depends on where you're at now and where you want to be. If you have 10 website visitors now and you're not getting any clients, but you want to have 1,000, you want to be getting a bunch of clients, like that's a big gap to fill yourself if you don't have the back, you know, the knowledge. So yeah, hiring someone in that case could help you get to that goal quicker. But if you have, you know, if you have 100 visitors now, and you think that 150 would really benefit you, there are probably changes that you can make yourself to your site that can get you to that goal. And so it really depends on, you know, how bad is, or the difference between where you're at now and where you want to be. How big is that gap? And that'll help you determine whether you should hire someone. An analogy that I was thinking of was like, if you have like a sore hamstring, right? If it's just a little sore, you can stretch it out and rest it yourself. You don't have to talk to anybody, you know. But if it's like, you know, you're screaming in pain and, you know, something worse, you heard a pop or something.
Oh my God.
You got to go to the doctor and get that checked out, you know? So similarly with your website, like if your website isn't really hurting that much, you have visitors and you get business through it, but you think a little more could go a long way. Yeah, do it yourself, make the little changes you need to make, and you can see those results. But if you need clients from your website, or you want that to be a big part of a big driver of your business, and it's not right now, bringing someone on to help you at least get it started can go a long way.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, and there are going to be like lots of different approaches in your website and like what kind of service you'll be offered. So I wanted to mention that as well, you know, as much as like Spencer and I have feelings on agencies. You know, for some people, it can be a totally appropriate solution, and, you know, the website's up, relatively maintained over time, and maybe that's all you want. So like, you know, going off of your point of talking about goals, maybe that's fine. But I know like the client I mentioned who I work with, like he had an experience with sort of like an agency type of thing. And he realized that he really wanted somebody who was a lot more personal and like easy to reach, one-on-one, can make changes fairly quickly. And also will like show progress and like teach people on his team if he needed it. That kind of like one-on-one service is something that you're most likely only going to find with me and Spencer only. No, but like, you know, like a smaller business, like if it is just like one person doing it, then you're going to get a much different experience than with an agency. And so whatever kind of like service experience you're looking for, I would pay attention to that. You know, and going off of that, like maybe looking at websites that the person you're talking to has done before. It's totally okay to ask the person you potentially hire what their process is. And I would even ask them too, like what they've seen in terms of results for their previous clients, you know, because setting expectations with people you work with in any capacity it's really important, a big part of like communication before you guys like decide to work together. So putting that stuff together, asking those questions, I think will lead you to the best result possible. I guess, as opposed to just seeing like shiny object, like website offer that promises you a bajillion clients, and then you don't really understand how it's going to happen and what the terms are, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it all starts in your first meeting with the potential agency or developer. Are they getting to know you and what you're looking for, or are they telling you this is what you need? If they're telling you this is what you need, you should start thinking, wait, is that true? Or, like, why are they pushing me towards this platform versus another? And if they're not able to answer like those questions that you have, that can be a red flag that they're just going to give you a site that they built 5 years ago that they've just been copying and pasting for everyone that comes. So yeah, in that first meeting, really getting a sense of are they taking a more of a collaborative approach and trying to figure out what my needs are, what my goals are, or are they saying this is what a website looks like, here's your website, and go off? Because that might be okay for some people, but for most people, I feel like you want more of a collaborative approach. So that your website really reflects who you are and what your business is. Otherwise, you're left with some cookie cutter site that actually links to someone else's, like your client had. Yeah, that's great.
For those of you who don't know, just like really quickly, basically one of the pages on the website linked to a practice in a different state. And like I know everybody makes mistakes. However, like I think that's a big deal. Like Spencer was just saying, like, you want whoever is doing your marketing for you, you want them to represent your business and you well. And if they are not, then, let them know and see if they can change it. If they don't, then, you kind of know where you stand and maybe it's time to look for somebody else. So anyways, just be on the lookout, ask a lot of questions if you do feel like hiring somebody is appropriate. And it's also totally okay to talk to a bunch of like website people and you don't have to take action on it right now.
For sure.
That's completely fine. So anyway, I feel like we've gone over a lot of stuff about things to consider. And I really hope, for whoever's watching or listening to this, it gives you some things to think about. And there were some specific things that we brought up in the show about things that like yourself. But definitely if you have more questions, feel free to comment here, or, we have Spencer's information for all the website questions. But I guess, Spencer, before we log off for tonight, do you have any like last pieces of advice or like big takeaways that you would like to share?
Yeah, sure. I guess based on everything we've talked about, I think biggest takeaway is don't feel overwhelmed by the website. Getting up a one-page site with a contact me button is enough, for a start. So don't be overwhelmed by that first hurdle of getting the website out there. But also, embrace the journey, right? Because once that one-page contact me button is up there, you want to embrace the journey and take those steps to continue to make it better. Just like you would take the steps to continue to improve your business, your website is the reflection of it. So take those steps to continue to improve it, especially from the user's perspective. To tie that in.
Yeah. And you could always if your audience is like older adults, like look for real live older adults to test your website.
Right.
You can always have people take a look at it and say like, okay, grandma, if you wanted to make an appointment with me and here's the website, go and see what happens. See like what she does when she's looking, if she's able to find, the button to do the thing or not, and that can be really helpful as well.
That's actually a really good point. One of my this was years ago, I built a simple website, and I thought it was cool. And I was like, look at this thing I just built. I think I handed it to my brother or my mom. And immediately they were like, looked at it and clicked something. I was like, wait, no, don't click on that. They started scrolling. I was like, oh wait, no, that's not how that's supposed to look. And realizing that like I didn't even think about what they were going to do when I handed them, my website on my phone, So yeah, just once you build it, just hand it to someone and see what they do. And if they don't do what you were expecting, that's a sign that change some things up. Yeah,
for sure. So, all right, cool. Oh, great. I think this is definitely a really good start for everything, especially if you're kind of like new to website stuff. Hopefully we went over some things for if you already have a website, ways that you could continue to improve it. or, Google things about it, or ask a professional about it as well. Like I said, if you have questions, please comment them. Feel free to reach out to either of us. And if in the future you would like to talk about websites, part 2, please let me know. And we can always chat a little bit. But yeah, I guess so. Just wrapping up, Spence, if you want to share again where people can find you.
Yeah, so my website is slopetechnyc.com, and you can go there. You can email me. My email is there on the site. You can also schedule a free consultation with me, 15-minute call where we can just talk about your website. I can give you some ideas, point you in the right direction, or we can start our own, relationship where I help you out directly. But I just love talking to people about their tech and about what they're doing. So please, if you feel free to schedule some time with me. I would...
Yay! Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Spencer, for being here. Hope you had a good time today.
No, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, hope I'd love to be back for part 2 as well.
Woo! Awesome. Website cool stuff. Oh my gosh. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much again, everybody who hopped in today, and everybody watching the replay and listening on the podcast. You know where to find me. Spence just gave all his info. Definitely hit him up if you have questions. He's been, a huge asset to my biz, so I always highly recommend him. And yeah, I guess we'll see you on the next one. We have some more interviews coming up, and yeah, I don't know how to end this. I guess that's it.
Mario.
Some extra decor in the background there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right.